everybody. Welcome to the Canine Connection podcast. Today, Laurie and I are going to follow up a little bit on the last podcast where we talked about how incredibly challenging it is to get the dog in the ring that we would like to have. I guess more specifically, we're talking about Zesty and Ever, and about thing that we're going to try and change some things, change our perspective on things, do some things differently, and so on. So I think it's been, I want to say maybe a week and a half, give or take, since then.
Yeah. Yep.
And Lori said she's been doing a lot and thinking a lot, and she did have one show. So she's going to tell us all about that. And then we're just going to see where this leads us because we don't have a plan.
Yep. So the last time we talked, we had talked about um a bunch about, the dogs in their arousal state, like in training, we can definitely get them up. As soon as we pull the cookie out, we can get them to look flashy and exciting and in the game. But that's not necessarily what we get in the trial ring like we talked about. So but it's easy to do that. The second, it's easy to just pull a cookie out or play the
Mm-hmm.
game, and that's going to create that. So I had come up with a couple of things last time we talked about, like where I was just going to do some more of calming praise to her in the ring, like good girl. And I had talked about using that wow word, which is kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we feed that, sometimes we don't, but it's just another cue that we can bring legally into the ring, kind of like to let them know that they're on the right track and they're doing fine because, like we talked about, they get worried, they care so much, then it starts to become where they look like they want to die. And then going into the exercise, you're like, we could very well NQ this because they look that
Mm-hmm.
way. So I did that. I had my plan. I was proud of myself because I actually stayed on the plan and executed it in, and it was a 1-day trial, but 2 trials in 1 day. So 4 classes. So I went into my first class and I had, um, no dog. Like she was stressy and worried. And so I did all the things that I had planned on doing and trying, and she pulled through the class. She, it doesn't matter like what she got, right? Like I don't care. Like
Mm-hmm.
she came through with a really nice score, but at the end of the day, it's always like it felt like crap. Like I hated it. She looked like she wanted to die through it. The thing with Ever is even when she looks like that, the dog is still precise because that's just who she is. She's
Well, and
still
it's her training. She's well trained,
she's well
right?
trained, right? So
Yeah.
even though like she comes out and either wins a class or gets a really nice score, like in my head, I'm like, that doesn't feel good. Like that's not what I want. That's not the feeling I
Mm-hmm.
want or what my dog to look like. So I did do all of that stuff. Um, did it help? There were moments where I felt like it helped, but what I did notice was because I kept everything so calm, I was calm and I was like, good girl. It actually like kept her arousal down. I think it got her too low. I
Mm.
think it got her too low. And so we went into our next class, which was actually utility. Open was first, utility was second. And by the time I got in that class and I was trying to effectively use the same techniques that I had in my plan, um, she actually like looked like she wanted to die. And the first exercise was gloves. And she literally went out to the glove and froze, like totally bailed. And literally looked like she wanted to melt in a puddle. So I was just like, "It's okay. Come on, come on, come on. Good girl. It's okay. It's all right." Next exercise was articles. And like I said in the last episode we did, like this is our thing. Articles are like our nemesis.
Mm-hmm.
So of course we go to articles and I'm like, and literally right here, I'm like, I just wanna cheerlead her through, but I'm like, I'm not. I'm just gonna try to stick with my plan and see if I can push her through. But it didn't work. So I sent her to the article pile. She went out to the article pile, same thing like she did in gloves. Like she stood over the pile and like totally froze up and bailed. Could not push through. So I was like, I think we're done today. Thanks, Judge. Blah blah blah. Left because I was like, I'm not going to keep going. This obviously isn't working for whatever reason. Whether it's because we haven't done it long enough. Because literally, if anyone remembers, I had just started this like 4 days before the trial.
Right, so I did wanna just make that point, right, like,
Yeah,
not
like it
saying
was
it
a
will
brand new.
work or not, but just for context,
Yeah,
right, you'd only been working on that for 4 days, so that was a big change, and you have a fairly long history of trialing in a certain way.
yeah,
Also,
for sure.
too, like, she's used to you being a certain way, so now you're different. Different is always gonna be, well, different,
Yeah,
right?
different, totally.
And for a dog like her, she's gonna be, like, a little bit confused by that. So, I'm not
Yeah.
saying one way or the other, just, like, context, right? Like,
Yes, yeah,
um
for sure, like, just so everyone knows where we're
and
at.
in training, she's used to doing everything in very high arousal,
She is.
and
She is.
then her arousal lowers in the ring. But, like, yeah, it's possible too that, like, in lower arousal, she just doesn't even know what to do, right? Because, like, that's
Exactly,
not, yeah.
exactly. So, then um I had 2 more classes to do, and I was like, "Alright, well, I could either just pack up and go home, or I'm gonna try to see if I can change my handling and get her through." So, I ended up going back to what I feel like I have to do to get her through is I have to warm her up, get her barking, spin, twist, like, I have to manufacture it a little bit and get her
Mhm,
into that higher arousal state. And then, like, we go blasting into the ring, and this is, again, like what we just talked about, like, this is kinda what she knows, like, this is
mhm,
how I trial her,
mhm,
knowing she needs me to kinda carry her through like
mhm,
this. And that's what I did, like, I was, like, looking at her like, like I had some big secret, like, we just won the lottery, and she really likes that, but I have to work freaking so hard, like, I have to
mhm.
work so hard through the entire class, like, I feel like I'm just on the edge of the cliff, like, if I let my guard down a second and just go into, like kinda let her do the work,
Right.
then she's gonna drop on me. So we ended up getting through the next 2 classes, um, but then I'm, like, thinking about all this because then I'm like, "Alright," some people have said to me, like, "You may have to do that with her, like, you may have to carry her through
Correct.
classes like that."
Maybe. Yeah.
But part of me is like, "But okay, I might have to kick her up into a little bit higher arousal just because of who she is, and maybe that will prevent her from kinda getting into her head about things, like but then again, I'm going, "But she also needs to learn to push through," like we talk about
Mhm.
that too. So, then I'm thinking about so it's like all the thinking. I go home and I'm like, "All right, what's my plan gonna be?" And I want her to like, so what I see a lot in the ring is I see it in my transitions, I see it in my setups, I see it in things like my pivots. That's where I start to see where she's like, "Oh god. Oh god."
Mhm.
Because the dog is totally trained. I've done all the things to motivate her in exercises so that, like, the exercises are fun and she
Mhm.
likes them. But it's the in between stuff where she starts to worry, where that's where I start to see it start to be like, "Oh god, transitioning to the next exercise, she looks like she wants to die." That's where I feel like I gotta be like, I have to work so hard to convince her to be like, "It's okay," all that
Mhm.
work I have to do, and I'm like,
Mhm.
that's where I need her to be like, "You need to bring it to the table." Like, this is where my head's going right now. Like,
Well,
you need to bring it to the table a little bit. Like, that's not the transition I want you to do. That's not
correct.
the setup I want you to do. This is
So
where my
like so I figured out a few things. So one is, and I felt this
Yes,
for
you
a
did.
while, where I feel um like I have when Zest struggles, right? Like I have to bribe him. So I'm like, I have
Mhm,
to flip it, right? I have to teach, and that's my fault, right? Because he gets sucky, and then I'm like, oh God. And then
mhm.
I do something to help him out, which is instinct, right? It's what most people would do.
Yeah,
Um, so then I'm like, okay, no, 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 no. You have to give me accept really good work, really good effort, and then I will reward that. So I need to
mm,
flip it around, right?
yes,
So instead of saying, come on, give me a good transition, because he has a similar issue, right?
right,
And then if he doesn't, go, no, no, buddy, this is a transition I want, and help him out and blah, blah, blah. Because I know, like, if I bring the cookies out or a toy out in that moment, I'll get what I want. But
right.
in essence, I'm creating it. He's not giving it to me. So I took him to the Lowe's the other day, and he worked exactly like in the ring. And I was like, oh, perfect. Because this is what I need. I need him to be like he
Yes,
is in the ring.
right.
Right. I said, okay. So let's say, I don't know, sent him to the glove. Right. Oh, oh, really slow, trots back. And I took it, and I said, and I felt this overwhelming urge to get out my toy or get out some cookies,
Yeah, and
and
crack them
I'm
up.
like, nope, I'm not doing it. But neither am I going to accept this,
Right,
because it's not meeting my criteria of what I want, right?
right,
And I've taught you what I want, so it's not like you don't know. Now, I'm not going to like beat you over the head or be like, "No," but I'm just like not going to reward it. Right? Because, like, if I said to the dog, down, and the dog sat, I'm not going to go, yes, and give him a cookie. Right?
right,
I'm going to go, silly dog, stand. I said, down. And then when you down, I'll say, good dog, or whatever. Right?
right.
So it's the same concept. It's just a bigger chain, right? Now, and again, I know I've fully trained this. He has a skill level, etc. Right? So whether it's the distraction or whether it's he feels pressure in that environment, regardless, it's okay. We're just gonna do it again, right?
Yep,
So, no cookie, no toy. I did try to charge him up a little bit at the beginning. So, bounce, bounce again. And he's like, okay, can kind of bounce. I'm like, no, bounce like for real. And I just stayed with it until he started bouncing like a lunatic. So, again, even there was like this hesitation.
yep,
And I
yep,
felt myself going to cave, right? And I'm like, nope, I'm just going to be super patient, right?
yep,
Come on, bounce. So until he's bouncing freely, because at the beginning, he's bouncing because I told him to. It's a command. But
right,
dude, when we train, you bounce freely all the time. By freely, I mean you're just, yeah, I'm bouncing, right? Because you
right.
want to. So I'm just going to wait you out, right? And then all of a sudden, he turns a corner and he starts hopping like freely. And I'm like, good boy. Now
Right,
let's try to do the glove, right? Let's pivot, send. He runs out. He starts to run back before he can trot, because now you gave me 3/4 really good effort. I'm like, yes. So now you said a really good comparison. This is the work I will reward. When
right,
you give me that work, I will give you a really good reward for that. If you give me the other work, I'm not going to get upset with you, but we're going to try it a few more times until you get it. So I kind of did that with him. And then um I went to a match on Saturday, and same kind of similar thing, like a little better than at the store, but I always get the same at a match, but usually I always go and help him. And I'm like,
Yep.
nope, we're going to do the same thing. You're going to give me effort, and I'm just going to be really patient. I don't care if we only do one exercise out of 4 runs. I don't care. But we're going to do it over a few times until you give me what I want, or at least give me effort, right? Like more effort, and then we're gonna have a party with that. And then by the time and so I had some really nice pieces. I felt like he was starting to have some understanding. And then Sunday I went to a match, and he worked lights out. Now, I'm not saying it's gonna work at a show or whatever, but I do remember that this is what I did, a few months before the NOC, because I would go to, like, this like, stores in front of the Walmart, et cetera, and he would get really flat, like, in the ring. Now,
Yep.
whether it's distraction, whether it's whatever the case, right? And I remember back then what I did was I would be like, "Oh, silly dog, that's not how you do that exercise. Let's try again." And I'd have to do some exercises like 3 or 4 times, and then he would run, and I'd be like, "Yes! Woohoo!" Huge like shenanigans. And he figured it out.
Right.
And it carried over then somewhere along the line, more than likely my fault, right? Probably somewhere he got a little sucky. I went and covered up for it in my training,
Yep.
and so on. So anyway, so the other thing I'm doing is like kind of in a similar vein, but I'm doing this like at home because I do have a similar issue with like transitions, pivots, stuff like that.
Yep.
And again, usually I'm like, "Come on, let's go." And if I'm like, "All right, that's the best you can do. All right, good job." No, I'm like, "Dude, no. I want you slamming into me and hopping like a lunatic. Cause, if I get
Right.
less, maybe I'll get what I want."
Right.
But again, I'm not gonna bribe you into it. So
Exact.
we're just in my garage, and I'm like, "Let's go." That's my transition cue. And he's like, "But," I'm like, "Oh, silly dog, that's not a transition. Let's try that again. Let's
Right.
go." Right? And I'll sidestep. Um, and then when he gives me a lot of energy, then I would go, "That's what I want."
Yeah, exactly.
And then I'm also mixing in, and this is like where I'm a little bit weak, where I still think I reward too much.
Mhm.
Um, where then he'll give me that and I'll go, "Yes," and then I'll reward him. So now I don't reward it every time. I'll do wow. So sometimes I just praise you and you jump up and down.
Yep.
Sometimes I'm just like, "That was really good. I love that." Sometimes I'm like, "Super, buddy." We move a little bit. Then I go, "Yes." Then I actually feed you, or I go toy and we do the toy, so that you're not actually getting a food or toy reinforcer every time. And at
Right.
first, he was constantly like, "Wait, what? Where's the food? Wait, what? Where's the toy? Wait, what?" And I'm like, "No, no, you're good." And he's like, "Well, thanks." But looking around, like, "Where's the toy?" I'm like, "Nope, you're not getting it. Come here, jump up and down." And it was hard
Mhm.
because neither of us were comfortable with it.
Right.
Right. And so again, I feel that temptation to just go fuck it and give him the food.
Right.
And I'm like, "No, no, no, no." Like, I have to and it's that piece is starting to get better and better and better, like, every day.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is where we feel like, "Oh, they're looking for it." Like, "Oh, they're" no, but yeah, they are, because I've created that expectation.
Yeah,
It's
same.
not like he can't do it without, it's
Right,
he's
we created it.
confused. So I
Exactly.
have to be patient and work through the confusion. And now he's starting to understand, "Oh, sometimes we just jump up and down, sometimes we do
Yeah,
that." I'm not saying it's
exactly.
fully there, but the key here is multiple, many, many times within sessions and from session to session, I could feel myself going, this isn't working. I'm just going to do what I've always done. And then I have to
Right.
stop myself and go, wait, is it not working? I can't really say that yet
Yeah,
because I need more time.
exactly. Exactly. Definitely. Yeah, and I'm doing the same thing, and what I'm doing with what I'm doing right now, what the new thing is, the new flavor of the week this week is I'm just calling it doodling. So what was
Mhm.
really interesting was I went to go set up Ever to go do articles the week after we got back. I'm like by myself in my building. Like there's no one there. There's no like any form of like outside pressure that would make her feel like, oh God, we're doing like the formal thing. I just set her up. I marked her article pile and she literally like tried to climb up my body. Like
Mm.
she couldn't even sit there. So I'm like, all right, well, there's definitely emotional baggage attached to this
Mhm.
fucking exercise. So, talking to somebody else who I train with, I was hashing this out, and she's familiar with some of the stuff that's going on with Ever. And she said, why don't you right now separate your, like, you work on your transitions and your setups, like the doodling part of it, where she has to do those pieces correctly. Like, she has to bring it to the table and
Mhm.
don't even do the exercise. Like set all your crap up,
Right.
do your ring entrance, do your transition, do your setup, and she has to do it. And I did that by myself in my building, nobody there, and I got sucky. Like I got trial-y, crappy shit I get, which was great because then I worked on it. And so when she didn't transition, like she got all like, oh, I can barely stay with you in heel position through this fucking transition. I go, and I have to watch myself because I get annoyed. So I have to really
Mhm.
watch my emotional state.
Yeah, and that's a huge point, right? Because it's so
Yeah.
important for us to be
Yeah,
mindful
it is, and
of
she's
our
so,
emotions moment
so
by
sensitive
moment
to
so we can manage them because we can't manage them if we're not aware. If we're aware, it's okay to have those emotions. We are human,
it.
but
Right.
we must be aware and manage them. And that's the
Totally.
key, right? Yeah.
Really the key because that dog, like, she yeah. So I'm just
Mhm.
like, "Oh," I go, "No, no, no, that's not a transition." So I take her by the collar, which she's like, "Oh god, I have to watch this too." But I have to be like, "This is a transition. Let's go," or whatever my word is I use, which is actually with me. And she's like, "Oh, but I go, with me until she actually willingly comes on the collar. Like I'm putting that in. And she understands that. So once she does that, I go, oh, wow, look at you. You did it. Let's go try it again. Dude, this took like, this took like 3, 4 reps before I got
Mhm.
like a with me. But once she did it and was ears up, like, okay, I'm coming. That's when I marked it, like what you just talked about. But I've got all like I'm working on all this in my pivot. I get it in my pivots. I don't know what it is. Like I pivot, she pivots with me, and then as I'm coming to the end of the pivot, she looks like she wants to die. So I have to
Well,
work
it's
through the pivot.
probably starts before the pivot because for a
Yeah.
pivot, they're sitting there for a long period of time and they get
Yeah.
really flat. I've been doing this game that sometimes I'm like, what is wrong with you? So like I do this workshop, like I'm putting together this workshop, right? A few weeks ago. And so I'm like, oh, so God. The workshop is like things you can do to increase arousal, right? Because we're always
Yeah.
talking about managing arousal, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so and then I'm like thinking in my head, okay, what can we like, all right, this technique, that technique, that. And then I'm like, all right, the ready steady game. And I go in my garage to film it. Do you think I've done this with Zesty? No. So I'm doing it with him and I'm like, "Oh my god. He loves this game. It's working amazing. What is wrong with you? Right? So it's that concept that you talk about is the dopamine is released in anticipation of something exciting, right?
Right.
Not it's like in anticipation of.
Right.
So it's the whole ready,
Yep.
steady, 2, 3, and then an explosion,
Right.
right? Like, yes. And then I'm like tossing cookies or chasing, or I have the cookie. I'm like, well, is it going to go left or right? Or what? Where's it going? This way, that way. And he's like, ah. And then I finally toss a cookie and then he gets a cookie. And then I'm like, get back in here. And now it's back to stillness, right?
Mhm.
So I'm like, ready, 2, 3, and then explosion. So I do that over and over, and he starts to get crazy, right? So then I'm like, okay, I can transition that to doing that without a verbal. So I'm
Right.
just looking at him, I'm saying it in my head, ready,
Yep.
2, 3, right? So this doesn't all happen in 5 minutes, like session after session, right? So now I can look at him, say it in my head, and he's like, ha, 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 and
Yep.
then an explosion, right? So I'm like, okay, now I can start bringing this into my pivots. So now instead of him sitting there going, oh God, and then I do the pivot and he's like, I'm coming, right?
Yep.
I'm like, ready. And then I get like, and then I explode into the pivot. So it's not completely finished, but it's definitely like I can see it working. So I'm doing that like heading into my transition. I'm doing it like pivots. I'm doing it wherever I feel like the exercise might be flat. So what did is like he doesn't like explode into the article. So I'm taking out the pivot. I'm just sitting him and I'm like, ready,
Yep.
2, 3. And he's like, ah, ah, ah. And I'm like, fine. And he's like, "Rah!" Running out. And now that's like starting to look way better. Um, so anyway, so I'm incorporating, but again, I'm like, I'm not I'm not bribing it, right? Like very quickly, I started reducing the food and I would
Yep.
do the pivot and then I'd go, wow. And wow, meaning you may not get food. You may not get a toy. Maybe you will. Maybe you won't. Maybe I'm just going to praise you. Maybe we're just going to jump up and down. Right.
Right.
So immediate, because I'm like, I'm not going to, if I immediately now take this game and every single time pay it, well, what's going to happen when I don't pay it?
Exactly. There's gonna
Right?
be out.
I'm
Exactly.
going to be screwed.
Yep.
So immediately I'm moving away. And same with my transitions, right? Like I do the game, then we explode into the transition
Yep.
and I'm varying what's going to happen. And so that again, don't know. I won't know for a couple weeks. I don't think my next show is for like another couple weeks. If or how any of this is going to transfer, but so far there are definite areas where in the past, even just training with my training partners, like his articles have been like meh, you know, and
Yep.
like today he like flew out, went boom boom, grabbed it flying back, and I'm like, yes.
Yep.
Right. And I did make a big deal about that. And I did pay that because it was first rep,
Yep.
lots of effort.
Yep.
Um, so I think it's like changing that mindset of like getting sucked into like paying them to get what we want versus give me what I want, then I am going to reward you for doing it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. That's the mindset for sure.
Because otherwise we're inadvertently teaching them if it gets hard or if whatever's going on and you act like this, then I will bail you out. And
Right.
then when we can't bail them out, well, then we're stuck and they're stuck, right? And then
Right. Right.
um we have kind of a problem. So but we can't take all reinforcement away,
No.
so I think it's just shifting the responsibility. Like, I'll even say, like, I've trained in my training partner's training building with him or with my other 2 training partners, and chained a few exercises and done transitions, and he's given me meh transitions, and I'm like, "Come on, come on," and, like, I'm like, "I guess he can't give me more." And I've accepted it. Well, then I certainly can't expect to get more than that in the ring. So
Right.
now I'm just like, all right, buddy, let's try that again. Like, I'm not like, no, you're not. I'm just like, no, let's try it again. I
Right.
need a little bit more. And I
Right.
think our dogs are very intelligent. All of our animals, like dogs, period,
Yeah.
are incredibly intelligent, and they can learn concepts as long as we're consistent, right?
Agree.
Um, so I do believe, because I know I did it with Zeal,
Right.
like I had to shift it around and it worked and he totally understood it
Yep.
and he changed. Like, he gained confidence, even though he was not innately confident, he became confident. Like, would he ever be as confident as Zaina? No, but he became confident enough
Yeah.
to do really hard work at the highest level under the toughest conditions.
Right.
So it's possible. It's just like, it's just always like it's this process of getting to that point. Cause our dogs change too. Like, they may look one way at 1 or 2 years old and a little different at 3, 4. And so it's so hard because it's just it's always fluid.
It is. It is. It is. And I don't know, I mean, this is like, to me, like, it's easy. I don't know. It's hard to say what people will say about this kind of topic, but, I'm a lot of people have like a method. Well, if the dog's not doing it, then this is what you do. But I just feel like it's more than that, like the training aspect of it, right? Like trying to figure out how to get like what we're looking for in the ring in a way for that particular dog, because that's the other thing is like Ever's not every dog. Zesty's not every dog. Like you can't just use this method to to train that piece. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No,
Am
you
I
can't. It's impossible because it's just like trying to teach every child the same way, right?
right,
Like,
right.
it's just not. It's like me trying to teach all my students the same way. It's impossible. They're all
Oh,
different,
it
and
is.
I have this similar struggle with students. Like,
Right.
right? Like, I'll have all these different students and I'm trying to present the material in all these 18 different ways, and then they sometimes they're looking at me and I'm looking at them and I'm like, they have no fucking idea what I just said. Like, I'm like, okay, let me explain it this way. And I'm
Right.
looking at her and I'm like, she still doesn't get it. I'm like, okay, let me try the third one. And I'm like, she still doesn't get it. Right. Like, and that's not a reflection of me, nor is it a reflection of her. It's just a reflection of maybe at that moment in time, maybe that time of day, maybe you know, um, she had other things on her mind. Maybe she's upset about something. Maybe I think I'm saying it one way and I'm not at all. Like, there's so many things happening at the same time, right? And it's the same thing with dogs. It's like, and they don't even speak our language, right? So they don't speak our language. They're all very different. They change moment by moment. They perceive the world differently than we do as humans, right? Like, it's so complex, and so I don't think it's possible for any method to work for every dog. Like, I just don't see it. Like, I don't believe it's possible, right?
I agree.
Um, and to be fair to the dog, because we're also trying to be fair and we're also, you know, like trying to be kind and like all these other things. Like it's very complicated. And then we
Yes.
also have to remember, like, what the stuff we're asking them to do is so completely and utterly ridiculous.
It
Like,
is.
it makes 0 sense to an animal.
Right.
Like, none. Like, when I hike with my dogs, the only thing they do that's remotely resembles anything is sniffing.
Right.
Like,
Right.
maybe that's remotely similar to scent articles, although I'm sure if they could tell you, they would be like, "Dude, it is absolutely nothing like what we do in real life," you know?
Right.
So, same as agility, like, what's with the contact? Like, my dogs don't, like, run over a tree and then stop with their
Stop.
like, it's a like, what? Like
I
any sport, like, we have to be empathetic and go, what we are asking them to do is so ridiculous. So of course it's hard because it makes no freaking sense whatsoever from the
Exactly.
animal's point of view,
Right. Agree. Agree. It's
you
tough.
know? It's
It's
really, really complicated. And
it is
I think
complicated.
the whole thing is you have to think about, like, I've been thinking so much about reinforcement, right?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like a huge challenge. And like my one training partner, like not 100%, but a greater percentage of her training is pattern training and a lower reinforcement rate. And her dog's working like lights out, you know?
Yeah.
So it's making
Yeah.
me think a lot. Like, I try to be super mindful of like weaning, lessening food as quickly as possible, making behavior self reinforcing, variable reinforcement, on and on and on.
Yep.
Watch myself next to her, and I am like the cookie monster. Like,
Right.
I
Right.
am like drowning my dog in cookies. So, you know, it's a good perspective for me to have because it's kind of like, huh, like how much do I and I think I wrote a little blog on that, like having had Peggy on here for the Seeing Eye interview, like, yes, she talked about those dogs working doing this incredibly complex task for praise in essence and for the reinforcer of getting to move out in the environment because that's inherently self-reinforcing.
Right.
And it's like, "Holy Hannah," like, "Okay, I get it. Some of it is apples and oranges, but dog training is dog training." Like, you know, it's r it's really making me think about, like, patterns, about, using praise more, you know,
Yeah.
being using my food even like, just really stop going on autopilot as a trainer and really try to push my boundaries a little bit more and see how much more can I get for less,
Right.
you know, um, and where is that balance, right? Like there's always a balance because you can never just pattern train. You can never just like there has to be and that balance is going to be different for every dog and it's going to be
Right.
different throughout the dog's lifetime, right? Like puppy, adult,
Exactly.
So it's
Ex
something that I think you have to be revisiting constantly or
Yep.
evaluating. I don't know what the right word is, but
Well, I think it's something like I'm being way more mindful now with salty, you know,
mhm.
because I want to start that early. Like, as I think I created a lot of that with Ever, especially and Stormy too a little bit, not as much, but I wasn't as mindful as when and where and how I'm giving reinforcers, right? I think it could get way better, like you just said. So that's that I'm doing with
And
Salty.
I think the tricky thing is like yes, we can create all the behaviors we want the way we want them using a high reinforcement rate. The
Right.
problem is always getting that in competition.
Exactly.
That's the sticking point, right? That's where, like, most of my students, they can train the exercises, they can look really good. And then it's like the barrier of entry to the ring it's like the Grand Canyon
Right. It is.
between having taught the exercises and then getting a decent, I'm not even saying great, like a decent, and by decent, I don't mean score placement. I mean like where, we're feeling like, oh, my dog looked comfortable. My dog looked, dare I say, happy or relaxed or, because the reality, and this is where I think there's a big disconnect in training too, right? Like it's great to say we should be doing all these things. We should never, the dog should never make mistakes. The dog should this, we should never tell them they're wrong, this, that, and the other thing. That's all great. But, like, then we have to get them in the ring. And the reality is, and this is what I think is a problem, like, people are not, maybe, this is a theory I have, I could be dead wrong. I think people grossly underestimate the reality of the ring is freaking hard on
Mhm.
them.
Mhm.
Competition is hard, like, it's meant to be hard. Like, I go all the way back to field work, right? Like, it's ludicrous. Like, if you went duck hunting, you sit in a blind, the duck falls, your dog goes and gets it. You don't give a shit how the dog gets it. Just go get the damn duck and bring it back so I don't have to go in the water in the middle of winter, right?
Right.
You do a hunt test or a field trial, it is completely artificial. Go in a perfectly straight line. Don't do this, don't do that. And I'm going to put all these things in the way to throw you off and blah, blah, blah. It is completely and utterly artificial. All right.
Right.
That's why it's a test and that's why it's a competition. And it's hard. And every dog can't do it. And it is stressful. So for to kind of have the philosophy that I'm going to train my dog a certain way because I don't want my dog to be hard or stressful or in any way shape or form in training and then put them in the ring, it's actually grossly unfair
Yeah, for sure.
because your dog's not prepared,
Right.
and then to go, well, I have no idea what happened, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. It's like we are not being realistic and honest and fair, right? Like we have to say as a whole, as a community, no, this is really hard. And the hard part is not teaching your dog the exercises. Like that's a
Yeah.
cakewalk,
That's a cakewalk. Yeah.
you know? And we have to teach our dogs how to handle adversity and
And it worked.
how
Yeah.
to push when it's hard because that's what they have to do in the ring.
Yep. Exactly.
And that's where it gets tricky because that's where, you know, and that's where I'm at with a lot of my students, but I count myself very blessed because they're very open-minded and very flexible.
Mhm.
Because I'm really saying to them, "No, make it a little harder." Dog makes a mistake. Everybody freaks out and panics in training. "It's broken." No, your articles are not broken. No, that exercise is not broken. No, your contacts aren't permanently broken, right? Like the dog made a mistake. Let's teach the dog how to work through this mistake. Sometimes let's let the dog figure it out,
Right.
right?
Work through it.
And let them muddle through it and then let's try it again. And what
Right.
I find is when we do it again, oh look, the dog does it. And the
Yep.
dog figured it out on their own.
Right.
And those are the kind of things that like we have to put that in place, and we have to sometimes say to the dog, like with Ceci, like, buddy, like that you have to give me a little more,
Right.
you know? Um, and I can't, sorry, but I can't pull out a cookie for you to do this. Like,
Right.
come on, buddy, dig. I know you can do it. Come on, you can do it.
Yeah.
And then he does it. See, you
Yeah.
did it.
And
Right.
that's the word, the dig. I want them to dig. I want her to dig when it gets hard. And that's where, like we talk about, it's so hard because we wanna go into help mode, but we can't. And it
Hmm.
feels yucky and messy. I hate it. And like it might take 2, 3 times before then she actually brings it on her own. And that's when I can reward her,
And the
You did.
thing is, it's so interesting to me because, like, in every sport, right? Like, I'm a sports fanatic because I've competed in sports. And now there are sports that I have zero interest in, but like sometimes I'll watch it because of the lessons, right? Like, and I feel like those human lessons apply to the animals as well, right? Like, every like the Olympics, like obsessed, right, with the drama because it's relevant to what we do. Okay? Like,
Mhm.
so the athletes will across the board tell you it's hard, it's a struggle. They have to do mental management, they have to learn grit. Like, they they will tell you, like, oh my god, there was this great thing, this Michaela, she just won Olympic gold in slalom after having her last Olympics where it all went south. It was all a disaster. Anyway, like, she was saying how regardless of whether things go well or not, even when things go really well, it was a struggle to get that.
Right,
Like,
right,
and they got there because of the struggle. They never say, I got here and it's been smooth sailing the whole way. They
right,
don't come out and go, I've always won everything. I've never lost. And, it's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's just not that hard for me. You never hear them say that.
right,
And the best of the best will tell stories of struggle and how they learned to become strong and resilient,
right,
right? And like, I think it's the same. Like, we're asking our dogs to do hard things. So
right,
now some people say, well, I don't care if my dog doesn't do great. It just has to qualify. Well, great. It's still hard.
right.
So maybe your dog doesn't need as much resilience as my dog, but your dog still needs resilience,
Yep, for sure.
you know? So, yeah, so it's like we really need to think about, you know, putting some resilience into their training, which like a lot like I said, like we should do a whole episode on it cuz
We
like,
should.
yeah, we have to do a whole episode on that cuz like I realize I could go down like and like a whole rabbit hole right now with
You're
that
right, right.
because I'm really focusing on that.
Yeah, me too, me
Um
too.
with my own dogs, but with my students.
Yeah,
And it's having some really like astounding in a positive way results.
yeah,
Um which certain of the things like proofing, right? Which the old version of proofing is you set your dog up, you make it really hard so your dog fails, you tell your dog that's wrong.
right.
But the way we do it now is we make things hard and we let the dog kind of figure it out. If they get stuck, we help them just a little bit, but it's like, come on, dog, you can do it.
Yep,
And then they come out the other side and it really builds confidence. So
yeah,
that kind of stuff we've been doing, but I'm doing like things at a way younger age now, in the learning phase like, yeah, we've been changing a lot of things.
Yep.
So, yeah, we should do a whole episode on that. Could
Yeah.
probably be more than one episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know, what's the take home? That it's hard.
It's hard. It's fucking hard.
Yeah, but I mean, I think
It's hard.
that's
Yeah.
fair, like, because I think everybody always feels like they're failing because 'cause we're always comparing ourselves to this
Yeah.
false image or this false, like, idea that, like, we should be able to or,
Right.
um
Yeah.
and
I mean,
that
I think
it takes you have to be flexible and you have to be willing to
yeah.
experiment,
Yeah, and change things and try
change
new things.
things,
Definitely.
try and fail and try and fail and try and
Yeah.
fail.
But that's the bottom line. That's what it is. That's what it is. Yeah.
And try different things, right? Because different things work for different dogs, and I've
Yep.
sometimes tried stuff with a dog that didn't work, and 3 years later, I tried it again, all of a sudden it works, and I'm like,
Yep.
"Oh, that's weird."
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yep.
And yeah.
Definitely.
Alright,
Yeah.
well, we'll keep you guys posted on whether this stuff any of it worked or didn't work
And
in
helps,
few
yeah.
in the next weeks and months and of us endlessly trying to get
What we need in the ring.
the
Yep.
happy dog in the ring.
Yep. Alright,
And then
good.
there's Zaina. Happy birthday, Zaina. Zaina's 10 today.
Aw, happy birthday, you little whippersnapper.
And no, I didn't do anything special because she thinks every day is her birthday.
Well, right. That's right. We'll just let her
She's
keep it.
like, "What? Every day is my birthday."
Aw.
She's so
Yay.
not she's so funny. Yeah,
Zena.
I let her bark at me more I let her bark at me in training today a whole lot.
There you go.
That made her happy.
There you go. Perfect. That's perfect.
Alright, okay.
Okay.
Till the next episode. Bye,
Yep.
everybody.
Bye, thanks.